everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Standardbred Retraining series. So last week I had practiced riding outside of the ring with Fredo, which is one of my favorite ways to help a horse build strength and balance outside of the arena. Unfortunately, I talked a little bit last week about how it gets really muddy here and we've had a lot of rain, so I am stuck in my ring. And my ring's really small. I'll actually show a clip of it now. So this is my arena slash dry lot. It's a multi-purpose area. It also serves as a driveway into the barn. Great for getting your money's worth out of building a surface, but not great for having a huge space to ride a horse. In the summer, we're able to ride out of the ring a lot, actually between the big open fields, and then I have a little bit of a trail loop back into the woods. But this time of year, we just can't. On my property right now, if I want to work the horses, I have to go in that little dry lot. And I could ride him in there, and I have ridden him in there. I just find that it's a little bit easier for them if I can work them in there on the lunge a little bit first so that they can build the balance and the muscles. And hopefully soon it'll dry out in my big fields and we'll get some more space. And I'm actually hoping to have a larger riding arena put in this year as well. But for now, this is what we're working with. And here's my quick equipment tour. And so I have side reins that'll be adjusted pretty loosely, and these equibands, and the equibands are really nice for building top line. I'm just using his regular bridle with the reins twisted up and under the throat latch. So I got my gloves, lunge line. I'll grab my lunge whip on the way out the door. Fredo tends to fall in the most along that rail over there, and so I have laid out a couple of ground poles to try to encourage him to not cut that corner. So make the right thing easy and make the wrong thing hard. Some people might say it's cheating, but I don't care. So right now you can see that I have the equibands done up behind, but I don't have my side reins on yet. And I will eventually re-clip my lunge line to encourage a little bit more bend, but just to kind of let him warm up a little bit at the walk. The goal of the day is actually going to be bending, and one of my favorite ways to introduce bend on the lunge is to run the lunge clip and the lunge line through the bit and attach it at the girth. And that way when you're holding on the lunge, it really encourages a correct bend. Oh buddy. So this is not Fredo's first time working in side reins, but he hasn't done much work on the lunge still. So I like to start them loose and also make sure that I'm giving him plenty of time at the walk to adjust to the new feeling. Good. Oh, all right.
So I went into this session with Fredo intending to focus on bending on the lunge line, but when I started introducing the trot on the line, I noticed he was getting anxious and I found he was getting quick, so I scrapped my initial plan to add more bend and instead refocused on slowing him down on the lunge. Fredo was just trying to anticipate what I was asking, which I think is a sign of a good and willing partner, but I do want him to listen to me for direction rather than just guessing what he thinks I want. So to slow him down, I want to incorporate a lot of transitions. He's anticipating that I'm going to ask him to go, go, go. So I want to stay a step ahead of him and ask him to trot a few steps, then walk a few steps. Trot, then walk, then trot, then walk. And as soon as he starts to speed up, I'll bring him back to a walk. When I work my horses on the lunge, especially a green horse, I find it's useful to set a timer. It gets too tempting to work on the lunge until it's perfect, but lunging in the equibands and the side reins is hard on them. It's using muscles that Fredo doesn't have developed yet, and I want to be careful not to overdo it. So I set a timer for 7 minutes before I change directions and then set another timer for 7 minutes in the other direction. When my timer goes off, it's a lot of the same thing tracking right. Tracking right is a lot harder for Fredo to maintain the bend, and when he has a harder time balancing, he's going to want to speed up. In the right, this is the direction where he really has a tendency to fall in. So now I'm trying to balance the need to make sure he's not falling in on the circle, making sure he still has some amount of proper bend, and also making sure he doesn't speed up too much. It's too much to ask for all three of these things at once, so I'm going to use the poles to my advantage and let them take him out further on the circle for me, and I'm just going to focus on trying to slow him down and maybe get a little bit of the bend. These are just clips from one fairly short session, but I worked Fredo on the lunge pretty consistently for a little over a week before I got back on under saddle again, and when I did get back on for another ride, he was much more balanced in the same space than he was the week before. So I was pretty happy with the progress that he made. Now, over the coming weeks, I'll continue to alternate between riding in the ring, hacking out, and once things dry out even more, I can start doing flat work in the fields to keep building his stamina under saddle in a bigger space. But tune back in next week because for a bit of fun in between our rides, I'm going to introduce Fredo to some basic clicker training behaviors from the ground. So that's it for this week. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.